to the story. It's story time with Skye. You can fall in love and laugh until you cry. It's story time with Skye. It's story time with Skye.
Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author Skye Warren. Every week, I tell a brand new story based on the heroes, heroines, and meet-cutes that you want to hear about. I bring on some of my favorite romance authors as guests to help me craft a hilarious, steamy, and ultimately romantic story with a guaranteed happily ever after. So pour a glass of something fun. Welcome to the story. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I'm your host, Skye Warren, and I'm here today with Ava Ryan. Hi, Ava.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you today. And just so that everyone can know a little bit more about you, I am going to tell them that you write billionaires. First of all, you write fairy tales and scorching hot contemporary romance. What drew you to that?
Since I don't have my own private jet and I can't take off and go wherever I want to go when I want to go, and I don't have means to go into Harry Winston and buy whatever jewelry I want to buy, I thought it might be a fun way to kind of poke my head in that world and see how it is and what it's like and just have some fun. So, and also I think it's always fun to have your heroine receive gifts, and who better to give a bunch of really cool gifts than a billionaire. So plus, if he's a nice billionaire, he can also kind of in the background wave his magic wand and, maybe take care of some charities or do some good stuff too. So
But I do find the problem with billionaires is you have to give them problems they cannot solve. You know what I mean? Which is hard because they can solve a lot of problems with money.
Well, the problem is that I like to throw in is that you're going to throw a super sexy person into their life who drives them insane, and they cannot figure out, because they don't want to be involved in this whole thing. They want to live their life the way it's been going, which is smooth sailing. So you throw in a super sexy person who immediately gets under their skin and starts, worming their way into their thoughts. And, they're not necessarily impressed by the billionaire-ness of the whole thing. What's he going to do? How's he going to figure that out?
Yes, I love it. Okay, we're going to come up with a story today, and we have 3 parts to it. And I'm going to tell you the part, and you can tell me if you have ever, what you think about it, initial thoughts, if you've ever written anything like it. So the first thing is the hero, and the hero in this case is going to be a rancher.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't think I've seen Ava Ryan write a rancher.
I have not written a rancher, no. Wait. What kind? Are we talking cattle or sheep, or is he in Australia? Is he in Montana?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's like completely open, but I always felt like rancher meant cattle, but I'm not sure that that's true. As a sheep, what would a sheep person be then in that case? I don't know. I feel like we can do what we want though.
Does a rancher mean it definitely means cattle?
You know what? Like the thing about these is we don't have time to do research, so we can have it whatever we want. So as a person who owns or runs a ranch, that was very helpful, Google. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll move on to the second part, which is the heroine. In this case, is a journalist.
Okay.
Journalist.
Is she writing an expose on cattle ranch abuse?
Oh, he would not like that. What's funny is I think the only other rancher style guy, I don't know if it was actually a rancher or had a different name, maybe cowboy or something, but that we did for Storytime with Skye she was a chef who was vegan, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think what it just illustrates is how like we want the conflict in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she's a journalist. And then the last part is often like either the meet cute or the setup. This one is not exactly a meet cute, though. There's kind of a meet cute implied, which is that because you have written these billionaire fairy tales, we are going to do for this story a Cinderella.
Okay.
So we kind of
thought, well, what if she has gone down in flames in her previous job? Maybe her source fell apart. something. So her name is now in disgrace. She's been fired, and she is just licking her wounds, going to the cattle ranch to regroup. And what is she going to do next? And while there, she runs into our hero and does not realize that he's the hero. Maybe he's doing something muddy.
Yeah.
But she quickly begins to think that something nefarious is going on this ranch. And then she thinks that she can write this story that will she'll freelance it her way back into journalistic stardom with
Yeah,
this
I love
story.
that. Like it's like a comeback story. So I like that because it gives us a way that she's a Cinderella without her necessarily having to be like necessarily that young or that sort of broke even. Like what makes her sort of Cinderella is the down on the luck status, like something has gone
Hmm.
wrong in her career.
Hmm.
And she's got to make a comeback, but she's licking her wounds. So how does she end up as this at this ranch? Is it like is she visiting someone she knows, maybe in a small town? Oh, what if she's now like notorious from this experience? So she actually goes to, like she lives in the big city and everyone would know her there, or at least enough people would know her that she would not feel like she could have privacy. So she maybe
Hmm.
visits a family member who lives in a small town,
Hmm.
meets this rancher. Does she meet him? Does she meet him outside of his ranch? Like he's just like in the hardware store. Oh, it is
Oh,
cute when you have like the heroine who's like very city girl trying to like do something.
yeah,
Why? And he has to be like, no, that's completely wrong.
yeah, yeah. Do we want her to be the minute she sets foot on the ranch, she does something undignified and he sees her doing it? Or do we want her to have come and settled in a little bit and then maybe she's exploring and doing something undignified?
That's a good question. I wonder if, because she's not staying on his ranch, right? Like, because if he's like a successful rancher, it's not like he's running a bed and breakfast or something. It could be the kind of thing where she's like inherited a house and she finally goes and explores it because she never
Mm,
had the time. That kind of reminds me there was a story, Belle and the Beard by Kate Canterbury, that's kind of like that. Like she'd been putting it
uh,
off. Oh, I wonder if she's from there and all she wanted was to leave.
I was just going to say, further to your comment about Cinderella, I mean, what if she was desperate to leave this little town? She went off in a blaze of glory and she thought she was going to win her Pulitzer Prize, but now here she is back. And this could put her back with, let's say, her stepsisters or stepmother or anyone that was mean to her before, but now she's kind of stuck again because she has no other choice.
Yes. So she's licking her wounds. I feel like she has to be close to someone there for her to come back there and not just like anywhere else. So maybe it's like,
Maybe her father has died.
yeah, he has died and she's gonna go look through his stuff. Or it
Yeah.
could be that she was like friends with her evil stepsisters, but like the mom is not cool with her.
Okay.
So that
Because we
might,
will need to give her a friend
yeah, exactly.
to, yeah. So you think she's cool with the stepsisters, but the mom has never liked her?
Yeah. I think
Okay.
it would be a reason why she'd want to come. It'd be like her friend that she could talk to about this. She's
Okay.
talking to her probably, so her friend knows what's going on, her stepsister. But it means coming back, and her mom is going to be like not like overtly evil because you probably wouldn't subject yourself to that if you're in this, but maybe you would. But she could also just be like the kind of southern evil where you're like you don't come out and say anything mean, but you think it, and it's
Passive aggressive evil.
funny.
Uh huh.
Okay, so she comes back. Maybe her dad, what did her dad do in this small town? He wouldn't have been a rancher because I feel like that's too on the nose, but like he could have maybe like owned the hardware store. Oh,
Yeah.
what if he owned the hardware store and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna come back and I don't want to sit around on my hands because like that's boring. And so what if like I'll just help you in the store, sister, who runs the shop now.
Okay.
And she is like putting a wrench that's used in plumbing, like in an area for hardware or like hardwood or wood or something like that. And he's just like, what are you doing?
Yes. I think that's a good idea that he comes in first of all, what is this beautiful woman doing? Where's the regular person who should be helping me? A. B, I'm in a hurry. C, I need the wrench. And where is it? And why are you acting like you know where it is when really you don't?
Yeah. I think he's going to have to be like, also maybe because he would know his way around the store. So maybe it's some sort of like, he's like asking about a special order and she's like flustered.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So then he is going to be curious about her. Do we want him to be kind of aloof and maybe a little, I don't want to say like all the way rude, but it could be rude to her about her like lack of fitting in right now? Or do we want him to be a little bit charming and curious and
Hmm. Well, maybe this goes to show something about my personality that I need to look into a little bit more, but I'm always going to go for kind of rude, gruff. Who's training these people? What is happening? Like he just has some rough edges that she's not going to be a fan of immediately.
right? And he's going to say, I don't have time for this. It could be that he's actually in the middle of something important and that's why he's
Hmm.
going to do this. And he could also assume that she's some city girl because she's dressed city. And he's not going to
Hmm.
know that she was actually from there and that she's related to her. Like I think maybe he somehow he didn't know that. Maybe he bought the ranch after she had moved away or something like that. So
Hmm.
he's going to maybe even say like, oh, I know so and so, your stepsister who runs this place, who owns this place. I'm going to tell the owner that you are incompetent or whatever, and which is like
Hmm.
to really poke at her sore spot right now because of this whole journalism snafu.
Hmm. And should he give her a nickname?
Oh, yes.
City girl.
I like City Girl. Or I also want her to be wearing really impractical shoes for this
Uh-huh.
because it's like Cinderella-esque. And so he could also
Oh, yeah.
those something about
Yeah. Ooh. What could they be? Flip-flops? Crocs? She wouldn't wear Crocs, probably.
see the thing is that would almost be more practical because that's like what people in the country would wear,
Mhm.
wearing like stilettos. It's like she was thinking to herself when she was getting ready for the day, like, this is like my power clothes. I always feel good when I'm in these clothes.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, it's not like she's like actually having to like haul hay or anything. So it's not that
Mhm.
unusual, but it just strikes him as being like completely out of place.
Mhm. Okay. Strappy girl. She could have strappy heels on. How could we make that cute?
We could just have him call her city girl and then she's just wearing the shoes. So he comments on it,
Okay.
he mocks her for it. She is going to be offended, but also maybe she's like used to being looked down upon for just sort of journalism, just like still kind of is a little bit male dominated. And so maybe she kind of is used to having to stand up to people.
Mhm.
People kind of try to like discount her or push her around. And so then he gets to see like the real her because the real her will come out and be like, actually, I am part owner in this place. And, you know,
Mhm. I like it.
okay. So they both kind of leave this, he probably gets what he needs. And they both leave this situation outwardly angry, like they're annoyed at the other, they're telling themselves I'm so annoyed at the other person, but like and secretly intrigued.
And hang on, does she know at this point who he is, or she just thinks he's random asshole?
I think she thinks he's random asshole.
Okay.
And she's gonna tell the sister, oh my God, you had like the worst customer today. And the sister's gonna be like, I think he has to be nice to the sister for it to be a different thing. Like he's just
Okay.
business like, but also a decent guy. And so the sister's like, you had a problem with him? Like he's fine.
Okay.
Um, and so she's the only one who's like, this guy is awful. But then the sister can also tell her, well, there is a little bit of a mystery about this guy because he just came out of nowhere and bought up all this land and no one really knows like how he came to be this way.
Mhm.
But the
Mhm.
sister's like, he always pays his bills with me. He's always kind. So like, I don't have a problem with him, but some people whisper. And then
Hmm.
that's when she thinks to herself, like, I wonder if there's a story there.
Okay, so does sister know that he's as rich as he is, or she just knows that he came in and bought some stuff?
I think she knows he's rich. I think she knows like he's got to be rich if he's like owning all of this land and like it has still been some years. So it's not like it was yesterday, but just no one knows anything about his past. Like people have tried to probe and he is like just shuts them down.
Okay.
And, like
Okay.
he'll participate in the community up to a point,
Hmm.
but no one knows where he came from. And that's like really abnormal in like a small town.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it could be that there's someone else there too. Like when actually, that could be the stepmom. So they could be like at dinner that night and she could be saying, oh, I had this nightmare customer. And the sister's like, no, listen, he seems fine to me. He's always been respectful. He's always whatever. And that the stepmom can have her little like, no one knows where he came from. And, that's very odd. And the sister can be like, it's none of our business. And the heroine can think to herself, listen, ultimately, I do agree with the sister. It is like none of our business about this random dude, but this guy pisses me off a lot. Plus, he intrigues me. And I
Hmm.
think there's a story here. And the thing is, she's going to be right, I think, at the end of the day. Like, she's going to be right.
Hmm.
Mystery worth talking about. Whether or not she talks about it is a different thing.
Hmm.
So, her instincts tell her that to follow this guy. So, then what does she do? Ooh, it'd be cute.
What?
She decides to make some pretense of, oh, he has maybe another order with the store. He might do a lot of orders really if he's doing this. Or so maybe the next time he sends in an order, or maybe just to sort of like apologize for like getting his order wrong or whatever, she takes something to him.
Oh, okay.
But it's a pretense. She like just wants to
Right.
snoop around. So knocks up at the big house. No one answers because like he's not married, doesn't have family there. He's out working on the ranch and he has workers for a big ranch. And
Uh-huh.
they need the workers, but no one's in the house. Instead of just like leaving it at the door or going back and coming back later or anything that like most people would do, she just starts like snooping.
Hmm.
And I want him to like notice that something is disturbed before she, because she doesn't call out because she's snooping. She actually wants to find something.
Uh-huh.
I want him to actually see the like tracks in the dirt of like her stilettos.
I thought you were going to send her around to the back when you said no one was there. I thought or that he wasn't there. I thought you were going to say, so she wanders around to the back where he's in the river skinny dipping or something. So obviously my mind went in a totally different direction.
Oh, yes. No, that is good too. I guess I could say if we wanted to try to merge them, he could definitely be shirtless and sweaty and then follows the track and then approaches her and he's like not, prepared to see a woman right now. And she's like, oh my God,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Because the skinny dipping is hot, but I also feel like he's just like a really hard worker. He's just like at work anyway. He's not even taking a break to cool off or anything. He's working hard.
Oh, okay. Because I would have put him skinny dipping out because he put in a long, hard day with the cattle.
Yeah.
But no, we can keep his clothes on for now.
We can work it in at some point, I feel like. So they have this little confrontation where she's like, I'm here to bring you this, like, either your order or this, like, pie I made. And he's like having feelings towards her,
Hmm.
seeing her in on his ranch and not just in the store. But also her clothes and her manner show that she's out of place. And I think also he probably would have asked about her. Like he would just been like, I met this girl. She said she owned the place. Like, what is the deal? And maybe the
Hmm.
woman who he's kind of friends with told him, like, oh, she's the sister that went away.
Hmm. I like that. And I wonder, should we give her somebody back in the city from whence she came saying something like, I've been talking to, the big boss at publishing company or TV company, newspaper, whatever, and they're willing to give you another chance if you can put together a story within X amount of time. But it's got to be something big and you've got to do a good job and pull it together. Just to give her a little bit more of a time crunch and a stake
Yep.
that she needs to be a little more aggressive.
Yep. And so I think she can start asking questions, like just try to play it casual. Like,
Mhm.
oh, so you moved here this long ago, you weren't here when I was here, whatever. And he can turn it back on her without actually giving away any information.
Mhm.
Just be like, why are you back? I guess he could have just Googled her.
Mhm.
He might actually bring up the scandal.
Oh. I'm sure she would love that.
Hmm. I think the scandal should be something where she like trusted the wrong person. So there's no way she's gonna trust this guy now. Like, if anything, she
Mhm.
has to be less trusting than she has ever been in her life.
Mhm. I think that's right, that her source fell apart or turned out to be a liar or something like that, so she's very skeptical right
Mhm.
now. Okay.
So, okay, they're both intrigued. Maybe we even sneak in a kiss in this situation. You know how things can get heated.
Mhm.
He's going to be talking about her darkest moment, and she's going to be probing into his past, which he keeps firmly secret. And so
Mhm.
what else is there to do but like angrily kiss, I think.
Yes, I like how your mind works. And I also think, do we need to throw in, since it's a small town ranching community, I feel like they need a neighborhood watering hole kind of place where they can meet, or it also could be a coffee bar, but I think that's kind of boring in this setting.
Like a diner, that people go to. There could also be events, like either kind of like a dance or a fair.
Yes. And I think that ties into your point about he's in the community, but he's not in the community. Like, why does he never come to these things?
Right.
What's he hide? Why is he so standoffish? Could he be hiding something, kind of thing?
Yes. And so I think maybe he'll like contribute up to a point. He's like a major landowner and he like acknowledges his responsibilities. So he'll like sponsor a charity thing or something, and it'll be like whatever the name of his ranch is has donated this, but he's not out there actually like shaking hands, getting to know people.
Hmm. Yes, I like that. But maybe now that our interesting heroine has showed up, maybe he suddenly starts to make an appearance at these things.
Yeah, what if like they're always trying to rope him into it, particularly his foreman, who's like his friend and who it has a good pulse on this town, and he's always trying to get him to come.
Hmm.
And and so this time when he tries, unaccountably, he's like, yes. I also wonder if like she might agree to do a story for the town. Maybe not like with her byline, because like you don't want it to be where she's like, I mean, she's obviously has a goal of getting back to where she was, but just like, you know what, I'll do a story for you guys. Sure. Cause like I'm here about the,
Hmm.
and that could help you, maybe that's part of the thing about the town. Like it's been struggling. The strawberry festival has been struggling because people are living in the city now. And maybe if they got some
Hmm.
good press, it would
Hmm.
help drum up some traffic and interest. And I mean, in a way, it's like part. I mean, I know she wants to be like a serious investigative journalist, but I mean, part of journalism is that sort of like the PR aspect.
Oh,
She's
true.
like, that's again, like, that's the really boring for her. But she's like, when they're saying, oh no, the Strawberry Festival, she's like, I know how to fix this. I mean, this is such
Hmm.
a good interest story,
Hmm.
but none of them know how to do that or what that would be like.
Hmm. I like that. She could also maybe revitalize during the course of the story, revitalize their little local paper or something,
Yeah.
so that that gives her something in town to that she has a tie to. And she could also in the end do freelance journalism or whatever the big thing that she wants to do, but she could also have this stake in the community that only she can do, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think it also is compelling, ultimately, that character arc of she left because she felt like she wanted to make a difference. But in a way, the world has like rejected that difference. And then she comes home and finds out that they actually need her help?
Yeah. Yes, I like that.
Okay. So I feel like, what is his backstory? I feel like we have to know at this point because it probably is going to change like what happens next because she's got to start discovering it?
Yeah, what is his backstory and what is the scandal, or what is the story that's going on at the ranch that she's trying to uncover? Do they need to be tied to each other?
Right. Look, I mean, the question is like, who had the ranch? Was it just sort of like for sale because it was hard to make a living that way? Or was it maybe some other huge landowner who swore he'd never sell and then suddenly did?
Mhm.
And so she knows that old landowner and she's like, yeah, he would never have sold. Something obviously happened.
Mhm.
And maybe that was the story that the original old guy rancher who was rich and evil did something to harm the hero's mother or
Mhm.
father or both. But
Mhm.
anyway, he harmed them. And then when the hero got old enough, he sort of took revenge,
Mhm.
quasi legal way.
Mhm.
He could take control of this ranch.
Okay. So the billionaire has been a pre-billionaire. Like he didn't just get his
Exactly.
money. Okay. Okay.
Because I think it wouldn't need to be a secret basically if he did just sort of inherit it because I mean that is how a lot of people, especially in farming communities, get their ranch is inheriting it. So for him to come in and buy it and them not to really know, like he didn't sort of come up in the world. So I wonder if like maybe they had a bad experience. Maybe they lived in a small town, but this rich rancher actually could have had, sometimes they own like 500 acres or whatever. It's kind of wild. So like he didn't have to live in this specific town to have known the guy.
Okay.
But it also could be that they were ruined in some way where they went back to the city so that they have now lived in the city. That's why they weren't affiliated with the town. No one in the town knows him.
Mhm.
Always remembered it. He always wanted to come back because like he had
Mhm.
to have loved ranching in the land. Like that had to have called to him.
Mhm.
But really like the way he achieved so much so quickly was through revenge.
Interesting. So the original rancher did something to mom and dad. So maybe he was in love with the mom and the mom married the dad and
Yeah.
somehow swindled them out of land that should have been theirs.
It could be that. Yeah. I was thinking slightly different, but I like that. That works. I mean, in terms of how the revenge happened, I don't even know if we need to be that specific. Like, if we were writing the book all out, then I would be that specific. But in this case, I feel like either like he goads him into gambling, but it's so
Oh.
much. I almost also feel like, I mean, it's so much if he gave him like all his land that I also feel like it could just be like a blackmail situation. Like,
Mhm.
in a way, it's kind of funny because in a way he did what she's doing, right? Ooh, I like that. You know what? It could kind of be a conflict of because okay, so what if he's like, listen, he's not a good guy. I already know this, but I can't get him back for what he did to my parents specifically. But if I can find out something else he did, and maybe he finds out that this guy actually has like, let's say, committed murder in order to keep his
Mm.
and so he blackmails him and says, you'll give me a ranch, you'll keep enough to sort of like live, but this is your punishment essentially. Like if you
Mhm.
beat me, you're going to jail.
Mhm.
So that's how he got his stuff, his start. But what's interesting is if she does this investigative journalism thing, discovers that murder and tries to expose it, then like it will sort of almost
Oh, it will ruin his.
his blackmail. I mean, it might be too late at this
Mhm.
point, like he signed everything over, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm. Interesting. So maybe our hero also just wants to keep his foot on the guy's throat for the rest of the guy's life. Like he would just prefer to always have this hanging over his head. And so he doesn't appreciate heroin coming in and threatening to expose.
yeah,
Um,
I think I also exactly. I do think that, but I also think he's not going to cooperate with her, which is going to look very suspicious, right? If she comes
yes.
and she's like, "Hey, did you know that like this guy who owned the ranch before you, like his foreman went missing?" And he's going to be like, "That didn't happen. Go away." And she's going to be like, "That's not how innocent people act," like
Yes. Yeah. That's going to be very sketchy to her based on her previous bad experience.
yeah.
Are we going to have the foreman's body show up or he just died under suspicious circumstances.
Maybe he died under suspicious circumstances, but I think the hero has to have proof because otherwise he could not effectively do what he did. Um,
Mhm.
it has to be a sort of like irrefutable proof. And even a
Mhm.
body wouldn't be proof, honestly, like at that point. Like it would have to be some sort of like video evidence or something like that because otherwise he couldn't prove that it was that guy specifically who did it,
Mhm. Mhm.
or like sort of written threats, or maybe he even got like a confession from whoever he hired to do it or something like that. He
Mhm.
has this irrefutable proof. So I also wonder, I don't know if reporters have, if you're an official reporter of someplace, do you have access to more researching tools than a regular person? In which case, it might be why she sort of like wormed her way into like the local paper. She just did it because it was like, I don't have credentials right now. But if I,
Well, I think it's always fun to throw in, I know a guy. So, like, I have a guy,
Mhm,
I don't question his sources or anything, but the guy is back in the city and he's good with computers or whatever, and he owes me a favor. And
yes,
so I was able to find out X, Y, or Z.
yeah. So maybe she looks up, just she can, uncover, it was supposed to be secret, but the terms of the sale, she was able to get them. And they show something ridiculous, like all of this land being sold for like $1,000 or something like that. And she's like,
Mhm.
this is very sketchy. This is not how any of this would have been done. I mean, obviously, there's more to this deal than
Mhm.
how he is going to, I mean, immediately have his guard up. And
Mhm. I think he would tell her maybe they have had, a run in at the local diner or the bar or whatever, and they had a pleasant interaction. It seemed like they were having a deep detente for a minute and getting along. And then he gets wind that she's getting close to this
Mhm.
information. And now he's like, you just need to leave town. You don't belong here, kind of thing.
Yes. You know what I like too is if, what if, like when the original bad guy screwed over his mom, he and stole those, kind of swindled them out of land. What if the mom has always wanted to come back and that's part of why he did this, like to get her back onto this land that she loves?
Hmm.
So she can either live in the big house with him, probably but maybe she prefers to live like in a little cottage that he's built, whatever. But
Hmm.
it means that she's there in town. And
Hmm.
no one really thinks too much of it. She's just like a little old lady. But the heroine could question her in a way
Oh,
that is friendly, and
uh-huh.
the mom even interprets as friendly and is like, "Oh, like happy to meet you," and stuff like that. And maybe they even do sort of have this like genuine liking for each other. But
Hmm.
he loses his shit, right? Because he is all about protecting his parents. And
Hmm.
so he knows that she's sniffing around and he's gonna really, maybe he just shuts her down the first time she tries to question him.
Hmm.
He's gonna really lose it when,
Hmm. I like that. So that could be a big blow up, at the end of which maybe they could have sex.
yeah, it's true. I do think like, yeah, they probably had a nice moment at some point and maybe like made out. And so this time they're just like full on angry sex.
Hmm. Where could that happen? I mean, I picture him storming into wherever she is and saying, "What the hell are you doing talking to my mother?"
Ooh, you know where he might storm into is like the little town's newspaper office.
Uh-huh.
And then like actually finds her with like records open and like things on a table.
Yeah.
And it's pretty deserted because it's like not a hopping air time, and it's not a hopping office at all, but also she could be there like at an off hour. So
Yes. Working late into the evening.
investigating him. So he will be pissed off and he will tell her off. Like he'll see it and he'll be like, "How dare you? Absolutely not." And she's like, "What do you have to hide?"
Mhm.
Then they just have to
Mhm.
sex about it, really.
Mhm. And there's a desk available, so.
Right. Just like right over all of these like newspaper clippings and slides and whatever else she's found.
Mhm.
Potentially might even incriminate him in a crime, but
Mhm. That's what?
that's where they're gonna do it.
Yeah, that's where they're gonna do it. Well, what if after they've done it, he looks down and gets a closer look at whatever article she has recently uncovered, and he realizes it's worse than he even thought. And then he could be renewed mad as he
Mm,
storms off after they've had sex.
yeah. Or she could almost like taunt him with it. Like, because I think angry sex is a little bit of like a match. You know what I mean? It's like a who is going to win this,
Mhm,
and he's gonna win. You know what I mean? By
mhm,
just like making it really good for her and like all of
mhm,
it. Like he's going to be the winner of the sex round. But she can sort of hit back a little bit
mhm.
with, "I'm onto this trail," and he also might even throw it in her face. He's like, "You're gonna have to stop this," and she's like, "You can't tell me what to do," and he's gonna smirk and be like, "Can't I? I just did."
Oh, mhm,
And then she's gonna be like, "Actually, I am on the trail and you can't stop me," and then they leave angrily.
mhm. And I think she could throw in something about, "I am onto something. I'm gonna, write this story. I'm gonna get out of this dumb town, and you'll never have to see me again," kind of thing. So I really like that.
Okay, I think we have to see him now be, like, super frustrated with his foreman, who probably does know the history, and his foreman is like, "You are losing it, man, like, you've been
Yes.
cool this whole time, even through all of this drama that you've lived through, and now you're, like, losing it," and he just rants about this girl, and the foreman is like, "This seems like you haven't had sex with her, have you?" And he's like, "What? That doesn't have anything to do with this," and he's like, "So you have."
That's one of my favorite parts of every book is the part where, the alpha male loses his shit and kind of realizes that he's in way over his head. And I like to have them drink too much, or they're jogging and they're trying to get rid of the excess
Mm,
adrenaline, or they throw something across the room or whatever, some outward display of it's all falling apart, this ain't good. And then it's always fun to have a brother or a foreman or somebody around to make fun of them in that weak moment, just
yeah.
because it really sticks it to them.
Yes. I wonder if he would go out, like, in the middle of the night and skinny dip,
Mhm,
because, like, he has sort of let off some steam already, but it's obviously he's still in turmoil because there's no resolution to this really. So he's just like,
mhm,
"Let me just go out and be in the water by myself, no one else is around, and she's gonna come over." Maybe she actually keeps researching him and finds something a little bit sad about his childhood, and she's like, "I feel bad, but also I'm gonna
mm,
story, but also I feel bad, and maybe I'm gonna go see him, and we can, like, talk about it." And then, of course,
mhm,
is like it could be like he hears a branch and he's like, "What the hell?" And looks back, and then she's like, "Oh, no, she did not mean to catch him naked," and so she's thinking maybe
mhm,
run away, but then he comes out of
mhm,
the water completely naked and
mhm,
sort of, like, catches her, like, as she's running because in the dark, he can't, like, immediately see who it is, and then
mhm.
he realizes who it is, and he's like all of his feelings come to the fore, but he's also naked now, so at this point.
I mean, what else could they do? What if he's got a little she shows up, she's heard something about his past, she feels bad. Nobody answers the door, but she hears music, and it's a kind of music or something that she likes. So she kind of follows it around to the back where he's got the river or something, and he's got a dock. He's got, a wine or beer or something, and he's doing his skinny dipping. But it's kind of, she realizes that they have music in common. He's drinking something, he's like human and a little bit more up. And obviously, he's going to come out, he's naked, they're going to have sex, but just a couple little things that can show that they have kind of some stuff in common, and that they just a little bit of tenderness.
I completely agree. And I think, first of all, I think we can explain a lot by the fact that she's a reporter. Like, she's just naturally curious. So
Hmm.
you don't even need a strong drive for her to be like snooping around. She just does it naturally.
Yes.
But
Yes.
also, yeah, I was thinking that even like when, even like if he's like, "Who's there snooping around my property?" He catches her, he's naked, he sees it's her, and he's gonna maybe give her a hard time at first because he's not happy with her. he might also do, I like when they do sort of like the fake threatening thing and they're like, you're walking around on my property in the dark. Does anyone even know you're here? Anything could happen to you, but like anything to you, get it? Like it could be me, um,
Uh-huh.
of that edge of like,
Mhm.
but then he could actually say, why don't you join me? And she's going to say, what? No. And he's going to say like, sort of like, I dare you.
Mhm.
Like, you just want to come in here and wear your high heels and act like you're aloof, but you're here. So experience this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And once they're in the water, then she can, he sort of like taunts her until she does it. And maybe she doesn't like completely strip. Maybe she just wears like her bra and underwear,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
well, in her head, she'll be like, it's fine. It's just like, this is a bikini, basically.
Mhm.
But the reality is that it's not a bikini, and that will become very clear, and they will
Yes.
be in the water that way. And that's
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
and it would be different, that completely different than the angry sex.
Yes. I like that. And I think that he could say something at some point during this interlude about this is his favorite place and this is where he comes to unwind and you've invaded it, so now you're here kind of thing. Let's enjoy it for a minute. Let's put the battle on the back burner and just enjoy it. We'll figure it out later kind of thing.
Yeah, I also feel like it could be part of why she's like, why did you come back here specifically? Why were you interested in this land specifically? Like those are natural questions if you're trying to figure out what happened with the sale. And then he could be like, why is it so strange that I would want this place? Like come and sort of experience it for a minute, the way that I
Mhm.
experience it. And then you'll know
Mhm.
that it doesn't have to be some big mystery,
Mhm.
which in a way is true because he is drawn to the land. And that also
Mhm.
chance from a reader perspective of like seeing what it would be like for them to be together
Mhm.
when
And
they're
that they can envision her fitting into his world there and being happy there.
yes. So if you have a really good moment like that, then something terrible has to happen.
Right.
Like I think it even needs to interrupt them actually, because they've had a lot of like coming together and then walking off and then coming together and walking off. So I actually think this is such a good moment. Neither of them wants to end it.
Yes.
And someone has to run out and say something has gone wrong. Or, ooh, worst thing that could happen, sort of anywhere, but like also on a ranch, fire. They're like, do you hear that? Do you smell that?
I was just thinking a fire. How could we throw a fire in?
Because if you set fire to the place where all the cattle are, it's just like
Oh, chaos.
they can't get themselves out. So he's going to
Yeah.
run, like other people are running out, but it's still a big deal. See, the thing about this for her, I think, is that she's going to be more sure than ever that something is mysterious and dark here because
Mhm.
because they're going to be like, how did it get set? I mean, that's going to be a natural question, and no one's going to know,
Mhm.
or it's going to seem like
Mhm.
sin. They're going to find like a gas can or something. She's
Mhm.
going to be like, obviously, this is something sketchy, but she's also going to be more invested and seeing how much he actually cares about the land and the animals and all the workers there. Maybe
Mhm.
the worker is sort of like gets hurt and he's helping him. And she's
Mhm.
torn because even that is as this proves that something sketchy is going on to her and her
Mhm.
senses, she also cares more about him and this whole ranch.
Yes. And she sees how devoted the people who work on the ranch are to him and how it's a community, it's a family. He's involved with their lives. They all know each other, kind of thing. He's not such a bad guy. So are we thinking that the fire was set by original rancher?
I think it would make sense, especially if he's trying to get out from under the deal somehow.
Mhm. Mhm. Maybe he's trying to destroy evidence that he thinks is somewhere, and then in the process of this trying to destroy evidence, the animals are threatened or the workers are threatened or something.
Yeah. I think it has to be him because we have not introduced like another. It could also just kind of be a scare tactic, like maybe if he's like in battle with this guy.
Well, it could just be a fire, but I hate to waste a good fire
You
and
know,
not tie it to
it
anything.
seemed like a fire just started now, especially because the timing, like she's asking questions and then this comes up. Oh,
Yeah.
what if she actually reached out to him? What if she tried to call him? Because that makes sense that you would do that, right? Like if the sale is mysterious, you would try to reach out to that guy who's selling
Mhm.
for $1,000. And maybe she just left a message. He didn't talk to her, but he starts to worry. He's like, okay, I made this blackmail deal, but now this girl is asking around. Does it mean the deal is off? Does it mean I'm going to be exposed? I like don't want to go to jail. So, or like get the death penalty in Texas. So it's
Mhm.
just, maybe this is him sort of lashing out, perhaps not intelligently. Like maybe he's not all the way thinking through how this is going to help him, but he's lashing
Mhm.
out in fear.
Mhm. Well, if he's lashing out in fear at her, do you mean he has a
I guess
flashpoint
both.
because of her, but
I think
he
he's
is
maybe
determined?
lashing out at him because of her,
Okay.
was my thought process. But
If the fire is on his property, there has to be something that the bad guy was trying to get at on his property or to ruin on his property.
either he was in destroying evidence, like you said, or he was just trying to ruin it, just trying to like punish him. Like, you need all of this cattle. You don't have a ranch without it. And I just destroyed them, or at least threatened to destroy them. And
Mhm.
have watched 24/7 for the rest of your life. So like shut this full questioning down.
Mhm.
And maybe they're kind of like, someone set this fire. Who could it have been? And then, the foreman is like, hey, I mean, it could have been that guy. And she's
Mhm.
standing right there with him. And she's like, oh, so and so, like, and he's like, don't. And she's like, well, I called him and left a message. He never got back to me. And he's like, you did that? Like, that could be, you're
Mhm.
poking a hornet's nest. This is the kind of thing that happens. Maybe he's going to feel fear then, because not only did he like risk all of his cattle and risk all of his and risk his men with this,
Mhm.
but also he knows that she's putting herself at risk, because if this guy will,
Mhm.
is not afraid to hurt someone.
Mhm.
And I think it is relevant to his situation, but I also think it's relevant to her whole profession, right? Because like an alpha guy who like doesn't want to see the woman he loves put herself in danger, that's something you would have to just come to terms with.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because
Well,
he's gonna be like, "This is dangerous," and she's like, "I've gone after mobsters, I've gone after crooked senators,
mhm.
I've gone after all of these people who are dangerous." And
Mhm.
he's like, "Well, that also pisses me off." And she's like, "Well, I'm not gonna stop. That's my whole thing."
Mhm. Mhm. If we wanted to really twist the knife on his feelings, we could have her get into, everybody's running back and forth trying to save the animals or whatever they're doing. And he tells her, you stay over there. We've got it. And of course, she's hard headed and she wants to help. And so she maybe gets into a miner's scrape.
It
And
also
he,
work where, like, she sees something, like a little lamb perhaps wandered into danger, and she runs in and saves it, and he's like, obviously we're saving the lambs, but not that one. You don't need to be in danger for this.
hmm
He's like, you should have called someone. She's like, it would have been too late. And he's like, it
hmm
would have been too late, but you don't risk yourself.
I like that because he is going to be reeling from how much it frightens him to see her in danger. And he knows that the bad guy is totally ruthless and will do anything. So he just cannot deal with that.
I also think it's going to be a good moment for her to say, all those other guys were running in, all those other guys, some of them got hurt. So why are you so upset that I got hurt? And that's a good opportunity for him to be like, those guys are ranchers. They work for me. They're trained. They live this life. You are a city girl. You don't belong here. Go back to where you.
Mm, hmm Yes, which is, it's all true. This is not where she normally
Yeah.
finds herself. It's not a great fit.
But it's really going to hurt even more after she has started to feel some belonging in this whole thing.
Yes. Yes.
So I think we're like where we're at in the story is like we're well past the halfway point, because we've started to have these problems come up, and
hmm
we're actually heading into like the big showdown,
hmm
the big dark moment.
hmm
I don't think this is the big dark moment. Like,
I was just gonna say, are you sure this wasn't it?
oh, maybe it was. No, maybe it was. It just depends on the overall length. It could be. It's a pretty dark moment. So he could say, I am done with you. For it to be the dark moment, he's got to like really go all the way. You don't belong here, and I'm done with you. You're not allowed back on this ranch.
hmm
And maybe he has to like do something else sort of to force her hand. Maybe if he was like going to help the strawberry farm and the newspaper, and she had convinced him to do that, and he's like, I'm going to pull all of that unless you go. And she feels sort of like honor bound to do it because, and then she tries to convince herself, well, I was going to leave it anyway.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I don't know. I was gonna say he could tell her, "I don't wanna see your face around here again. If I do, I'm gonna call the sheriff." That's kind of a punk move, though. I'm not sure I like that.
It's far,
Um,
but like we need it to go far if it's going to be the dark moment. Either that or the dark moment becomes maybe during all of this. Ooh, maybe during this fight, he's like, "You're in danger," and she's like, "The fire is over," and he's like, "No, this guy you're interested in, he is ruthless. He is a murderer." He might like in his frustration come out and say that, and
mhm,
she is going to be like, "How do you know that?" And he's going to be like, "Oh shit, nothing. I did not mean that. I meant he's a bad guy. He's probably murdered. Whatever. Just leave." And
mhm,
she's going to think to herself, what if it's not that he is sketchy, which I've been wondering about because I saw his honor and how much he cared about the people today.
mhm,
And so maybe I actually believe in him, even though he was an asshole to me afterwards. And
mhm,
this was a bad guy and he should be taken down. Like he wasn't taken down by the law and by public opinion, even if he had this weird blackmail thing about the ranch.
mhm,
Well, this is what she does, right? So she's like,
mhm,
I'm really going to write this story and maybe I'll leave. Maybe I will leave. I'll just go back. I don't even need to be here to write the story. I'll just go back or
mhm,
keep to myself or leave. But I'm going to write this story and I have most of it. But if that's true, if she's really going to pursue the story, she has to try to confront that guy. I mean, because you wouldn't write the story without at least really attempting to reach him. Like just
right,
just not enough.
right, right. Well, so maybe she shows up. I'm kind of thinking of her in my mind as Nancy Drew. She's now showing up at the bad guy's house. He's been avoiding her phone calls. The story is going to print. She needs to force this, are you telling me on the record, no comment or whatever? And then maybe Hero simultaneously goes there to confront the guy because you have gone too far now. You're innocent people are being involved kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, so what if she's like, okay, fine, I'm leaving. But she's like, before I go, I'm gonna see that guy. She only tells her sister. And I think it's a tough thing when you have a heroine who puts herself in danger because on the one hand, it can make readers feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm frustrated. Why do you keep doing this? But on the other hand, you can't be a reporter and be like constantly afraid because
Mhm.
you can't do your job. So I think
Mhm.
she has to talk it out with the sister and explain to the sister, this is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go talk to him in broad daylight. You know where I'm going. If
Mhm.
they even come up with a plan, if I don't text you in 30 minutes, like from the time I go in or something, then you'll call the sheriff or something like that. So she takes these steps for her safety, but she's
Mhm.
also like, I'm not going to put the story away. And it's also more meaningful now because because of the hero.
Mhm.
Story means more.
Well, do you think that the sister should then call him? The sister should try to talk her out of it, and then that fails. Maybe the sister calls the
The
hero.
sister tries to talk her out of it. Maybe the sister agrees, but you know what I like even more than that is if the hero is already going over to her place in town to apologize because he knows she's supposed to leave like that next day or
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
and he
Mhm.
actually can't stand leaving things that way.
Mhm.
And so even though he's getting what he wants, supposedly, he like can't
Mhm.
let her walk away without at least
Mhm.
having to talk to her. And
Mhm.
and maybe even declare himself, but maybe he doesn't fully know what he's gonna do, but he gets there and the sister's like, "Oh, maybe you can stop her, like, she's going to that guy's place," and he's like, "What?" And
Mhm.
maybe we flip back over to inside his house, and he's being very, like, overtly charming and friendly, and most people would maybe believe him, but because of all her experience, she does not believe him, and I wonder if she
I'm
actually
sorry, we're inside whose house?
so at the original bad guy, the old ranch
Okay.
people, she has gotten into his place, which is presumably more modest now that he's been like blackmailed out of most of it. But maybe he left him enough that like you can live like this for the rest of your life. So you're not like in total poverty, but it's nothing like what you had built.
Mhm.
And so the guy lets her in, is like very friendly, which
Mhm.
a lot of people might believe, but she is like, I know that this is not true. And I think I would like her to like use her reporter skills to either to trip him up, like confront him with something he did not think she would have, and then trip him up into actually admitting something.
Mhm.
Just because I want her to really, I want us to like see that this is sort of like her calling,
Mhm.
that she is accomplishing something useful here. Because I also think even if he did one crime that the hero was able to blackmail him for, if someone is that rich and that evil, like they've done more than that.
Yes, and I was just sitting here thinking maybe she has her guy that she knows that's good with computers do a little more digging, and he has come back and said, "Do you know this is not the foreman is not the only person who has had a suspicious death when the original villain was around. Did you know that 10 years ago in this other town, this other thing happened?" And
Yes.
now
You
she's
know what I was
like,
just thinking? I was like, I wonder if that was part of how it happened. Like, what if the foreman who died was his dad?
"Oh, the hero's dad?"
Yeah, and or the guy, he might not have even had to be the foreman, but what if that's part of how he took the money? Like, they own this land, it was a smallish plot of land at the time. Maybe they had to work with the bigger guy to earn enough money or were affiliated with him in some way. He mysteriously died, and so the land should have gone to the wife and the son,
Mhm.
but instead, this guy produced this paper of like, "No, we were in a partnership, he was in debt to me, it's."
Mm, mhm, mhm.
And so
And
that would
then they
explain why he was able to, first of all, steal the land from the hero in the first place and his family.
mhm,
He was so eager to like get it back and get his mother on it, because it was like her love and all of that.
mhm,
But also, it explains why he has so much land in the first place because he's done that other times.
mhm. Oh, okay.
And maybe the only thing the blackmail was able to prove, like maybe the only thing the hero was able to prove was the fraud, which would already be significant.
Mhm,
And is why he like agreed to give it back. Maybe he thinks he murdered him, but he wasn't able to prove it
mhm,
because so much time has passed and it's a whole thing. But if this reporter uncovers this whole pattern,
mhm,
it's going to be very suspicious. And there's like no
mhm,
statute of limitations on murder. So
mhm,
he's thinking to himself, all right, I'm lucky enough to have gotten away this much. One more murder is going to be worth it.
mhm,
And so he's gonna thinking to himself, he's gonna kill her. Maybe he actually like pulls a gun and is like, let's go out. You're gonna have an accident walking down the road.
mhm,
Like I've heard that you like to snoop around. That's what you were doing. And I'm just gonna
mhm,
kill you. And she's like thinking, how do I get out of this? And I do want her to like, sort of get away a little bit on her own, just using her own cunning.
mhm,
She's still stuck out on this
mhm,
property with this guy with a gun. So it's like maybe she's running through the woods. He's trying to get her, and then the hero pulls up and is like,
mhm,
okay, fully
mhm.
defeats the dragon.
I like that. Maybe the heroine landed a couple of good blows
Mhm.
on the bad guy before she got away, just to,
Yeah, she could.
'cause
That could even be part of what she says to him, like the hero when he's giving her a hard time. She could be like, "I know self defense," and he's going to mock her and be like, that is obviously not a real thing that you do. That's just some like little workout class you did or something like that." And she's like, "No," and then she, like, actually uses it, um,
Yeah,
which again is impressive, but not still gonna win against a gun.
right. Well, right. Yeah. But it shows that she's feisty and strong. Yeah.
Exactly. So he's going to probably when he's on the way, he's gonna call his foreman and also the sheriff and be like, "You have to meet us there," and they're gonna be like, "You have to wait for us because you're gonna go in and kill this guy," and he's like, "I'm definitely not waiting for you." And then he goes in and thankfully, like, he probably, like, does get to beat him up a little, and then the people pull up to arrest.
Yeah. Or the people pull up in time to see enough of what the bad guy is doing, and hero gets there first and is able to land a few blows before they pull him off.
Yeah. And, and I think even when he's handcuffed, like the evil guy could be trying to say, oh no, I have reasons, I have things. And she's like, do not bother. I probably have like your confession on tape that I was recording when I was questioning you. And then you started getting angry and then threatened to kill me. Like I probably was recording all of that.
Oh, of course. Of course she was, because that's what reporters do.
Yeah. So the day has been saved. The day has been saved. Now, how do they sort of like get back together? Is it like immediate? Is it like that moment and after he's like, thank God
It's
you're okay. I was looking for you.
it's immediate because she was scared and he was scared, and he saved her, and
It brings out
he's proud of her. But I think and so then everybody loves everybody else, and they tell each other that.
yeah.
But then I think the epilogue can be at the Strawberry Festival or something, where the whole town comes together, and I don't know, maybe he proposes there, or because we also still need to wind up how she's going to stay in town, and if she's going to stay in town, what's she going to be doing?
Yes. Yes. You know what came to me? I mean, I was thinking obviously there's the local newspaper that you had mentioned before. There is the fact that she can do investigative journalism from anywhere,
Hmm.
really, even if you have to travel a little bit. He could also be playful, like when they're getting together and have her be like, I thought you'd be mad at me for getting into trouble. And he's like, I am. I'm going to have to like punish you, wink, wink. But he could also say, like, this is part, like teasingly, like, this is why we have to be together. You obviously need someone to watch out for you. And so it's kind of implied that, like, if she does go on a trip that's dangerous, like, he's going to be there with her.
Hmm.
But the last thing I thought of, do you know how I feel like we don't see them as much, or maybe I just don't see them as much, but I feel like years ago in the romance genre, there used to be more of these books that were like the same couple through like not just a trilogy, but like 10 books where they're like solving a different kind of like the
Yes. Yes.
solving a different mystery every time. And so I really would love
Yes.
the sort of like epilogue to be something goes wrong at the Strawberry Festival and it's like done. And she's like, I'm on it. I'm gonna solve this. Like you have to read the next book to find out how that.
That is very good. I like that. So now we've got 12 new books to write,
And
because
I
there's
don't think
always a crime.
exactly. And I do think they should. I don't think it should be a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger. That's not what I think.
Hmm.
They should be committed to each other, but they're maybe not like all the way married, all the way everything. Right? They've sort of like
Hmm.
said, "I love you," and they're serious about each other. But
Hmm.
then they're obviously going to continue to battle whenever she's like, I'm going to put myself in danger. And then he's like, you cannot.
Hmm. Well, look how well JD Robb has done that
Yes.
for God knows how many books.
Many, many books. So we could at least get through the end of the Strawberry Festival, maybe like a holiday book, just,
there there's the fall festival, the
yes.
strawberry festival, all the
There's a
holidays.
rodeo probably coming
There's
through.
a rodeo. They've probably got the Huckleberry Festival. All the Western fruits have to be festivalized.
Well, also just like even on a time when there's nothing happening, it could be like something has happened and then turns out the nice sheriff was like hiding a dark secret.
Oh, hmm. This is one of those. What was that murder she wrote? Everybody in the small town
Yeah,
has some secret life going on.
exactly. Exactly. Okay, I love that. So we already did the epilogue. So then next question will be like, what would we call it?
Oh, oh, oh my gosh.
So it's slightly different knowing that it's going to have multiple books because I would want something that you could really play off of for the future ones.
Hmm.
It also is helpful because we didn't give him a brother, though, which frankly is an oversight. We should always be giving people brothers, but
Yes.
that's okay because we have 12 books of mysteries, so it's fine. But what if it's like Love on the Ranch and then it could be something else like Mystery on the Ranch, like Death on the Ranch,
Oh.
just like some
Hmm.
holidays on the ranch.
Hmm. I like that. Yeah. And so people know that they're going to get the whole ranch community and their favorite people, all the support network. They're going to get to visit all their old friends on the ranch with
Yeah.
every new book.
Yeah.
I feel like we should throw in a dog. or a cat,
I
some
was
sort of
thinking that at
pet.
some point, like around the time when she was catching him, skinny dipping, I was like, he would probably have a dog, and the
Yes.
dog would sniff her before
Yep.
he did. But I still really liked him catching her when he's like naked and dripping wet. So maybe, maybe the dog, I don't know, was in the house sleeping at that point. No, he wouldn't have been. Maybe they can get a puppy in book 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe they're training the puppy up as the books go on to be a cattle dog.
Yeah, it could be that it's like a normal thing for like a rancher to have a companion animal, but what if they also have working animals, but also companion animals? But what if like he didn't want to because of his full rejection of commitment? And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't even want a dog. Yeah.
At one point, he admires a dog, and she's like, "You could have a dog. You live on a ranch." And he's like, "No, it's not for me.
Yeah.
That lifestyle of commitment is just not it."
Sounds like our kind of guy.
Okay, yeah, they'll definitely have to get a dog. Because it will, especially if their relationship is going to move a little bit more slowly. Like they're not going to start having babies right away, right?
Well, right.
So
Right. No, they're
they'll
not
kind
going
of
to
have
have
to talk.
time.
Like, do we even get a dog together?
Yeah. I like it. I think, speaking of dogs, I'm astonished. We have a puppy, and I'm astonished that our puppy left me alone long enough to talk this long to you. I thought it was going to be a disaster.
Yeah, I have mine sleeping, but she's my old baby, so she just
Did not, you would never have known she was there.
yeah. Okay, so we came up with the title, Love on the Ranch. Now, the last question that I have for you, Ava, is if readers liked the story Love on the Ranch, what is the first book of yours that they should read?
Oh, well, they could start with The Billionaire's Princess. It's free. It's got a royal princess from England, and she runs into a billionaire who is a New Yorker, and they have kind of a moment at Bemelman's bar in New York, and it goes from there. She's undercover as a princess. He doesn't know when they first meet who she is. And so it's got a lot of banter. It's a romantic comedy. It's kind of love at first sight, one night stand kind of thing, but with lots of bumps along the road. And she's kind of got a boyfriend from England who she broke up with, and he's going to show up. And of course, billionaires hate to see any competition for the woman that they have their eye on. So yeah, readers could check that out. There's no ranch, no cattle, sadly, but still a billionaire. So hopefully readers will like that
Still a
and check it
billionaire,
out.
still a Cinderella story. So I love that.
Yes.
Still a heroine with some kind of secrets that she's hiding. So that is very interesting. And the billionaire's Cinderella, did I say that right?
The Billionaire's Princess.
The billionaire's princess. We'll put
Yes.
the links to that in the show notes. So if you are listening, you can just glance down at the show notes and we'll have a link to that book that you can read. And thank you so much, Ava, for coming and doing this with me.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It was really fun. And I'm glad that we were able, maybe you're very good at thinking on your feet. I'm not so great at thinking on my feet. So there could have been a lot of white space in the podcast with nobody talking and just me staring off into space. So I'm glad it came together.
No, it did. They always do. They have a way of doing that. So I love that about the stories. And I love doing this with you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to Storytime with Skye. I hope you enjoyed the story we crafted this week. Please subscribe so you don't miss a new episode, and leave a review so that other listeners can find our show. We always put links for any books we discuss, as well as books by the guest author, in the show notes, so you can definitely find something new to read. And if you want to help choose our romance adventure, be sure to join our Facebook group, Storytime with Skye. That's where we gather suggestions and poll our readers, just like you, to find out what our next story will be. Thank you for being part of the story.
Welcome to the story. It's story time with Skye. You can fall in love and laugh until you cry. It's story time with Skye.